There's just something about going out into dungeons or missions with a group of friends and coming back, overflowing with precious loot. Something that appeals to us in a way that few other things in video games do. The looter genre has grown and changed a great deal since its inception, but that allure of grinding for better loot with a group of friends hasn't changed one bit. In this feature, we'll be taking a look at 16 of the best co-op looters that we feel you need to play if you're fans of the genre, if you haven't done so already. Destiny 2. Destiny 2 didn't start out in the best of shapes, especially considering all the potential the series had after the improvements Bungie had made to the first game with post-launch support. But of late, Destiny 2 has become an extremely compelling experience. It's teeming with content, and the launch of Forsaken last year saw the game living up to much of the potential it always had, finally. The Division 2. The Division 2 is a very special game. It's a rare example of a live service game launching in a complete state, though it is a bit sad when we're at a point where something like that needs to be celebrated. It boasts an excellent campaign that's a lot of fun, even when you play solo, but it's even better when it's tackled with friends, while its loot grind and endgame are top-notch as well. The game has no shortage of content as it is, and future updates only promise to make it even better. Borderlands 2. Before Destiny, before The Division, before the boom of the looter-shooter genre, there was Borderlands, and it was spectacular. Borderlands 2 has the best of everything this genre has to offer. Crazy, outlandish loot that motivates you to grind for it, excellent mechanics with immense depth, great writing and characters that are brimming with personality, and a story that you can actually get invested in. Borderlands 3 can't get here soon enough. Diablo 3. There are many who call Diablo 3 the king of loot-based games, and it's hard to argue with that notion. Though the game suffered from a poor launch, Blizzard well and truly turned it around in the years following its release. Now Diablo 3 is an addictive and compelling experience that can sink its claws into players with the kind of permanence that leads to dozens if not hundreds of hours of obsessive loot grinding. Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World is the ultimate refinement of the formula the series pioneered and perfected over multiple installments. And though the game doesn't have as much content as some of its predecessors do, there's no denying that the moment-to-moment experience is the best this series has ever seen. The loop of going out to slay monsters to make better gear so that you can kill harder monsters to make even better gear, you get the idea. It's an incredibly addictive one, and Capcom have polished it to ridiculous levels with Monster Hunter World. WARFRAME. The story of WARFRAME's reversal of fortunes is an incredible one. The game launched many years ago to little fanfare and was, all in all, a nondescript average experience at best. Years later, Digital Extremes have done so much to change and improve upon the original experience that WARFRAME right now is probably one of the best looters currently available on the market. It's almost an entirely different game, and the fact that it's free to play and has one of the fairest monetization models you can find in such a game right now makes it even better. Path of Exile. Just like WARFRAME, Path of Exile 2 is a free-to-play title, and it too makes use of very fair monetization policies. But while that's all excellent, it's the core gameplay experience that helps it stand out. While one could crudely classify it as a Diablo clone, Path of Exile exhibits a level of polish and understanding of what makes for a great loot-based action RPG the way very few other games do. Torchlight 2. There are many games that have tried to take a stab at the things Diablo does and does so well, but while not all of them have succeeded, one that definitely has is Torchlight 2. It's not the most original game of its kind you'll ever see, but everything it does brilliantly. From its skill variety to its combat, to the oceans of loot it has on offer, to so much more, Torchlight 2 is a game that any fan of the ARPG genre needs to play. Dying Light. So what is Techland's Dying Light? Is it a first-person action-adventure title? Is it a post-zombie apocalyptic hack-and-slash title? Is it an exploration-based game rich with backstory for the world annihilated by the undead? Or a parkour simulator survival horror? It's just about everything, as well as an awesome co-op looter game. Its jack-of-all-trades approach gives you a damn good time that you won't forget anytime soon. Borderlands. There's no denying that even today, Borderlands has a unique charm to it that the more modern looter shooters just can't seem to capture. If you haven't played Borderlands 2 or just couldn't get into the pre-sequel for whatever reason, then this looter shooter is the best yet. Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn is one of the more recent Diablo-style action RPGs on this list, but it's also one of the best. While some might say that at times it hews too closely from the games it takes inspiration from, a counter-argument to that would be that what it does exceedingly well. Grim Dawn's mixing and matching of classes also makes for a deep and engaging system, while the way Crate Entertainment has been constantly supporting the game since its release with meaningful new content also deserves all the praise in the world. Victor VRAN. Haemimont Games came forward with their own take on the action RPG genre with Victor VRAN in 2015, and while the game has flown under the radar in the years since, it deserves far more attention. The level of flexibility and options it offers with its fluid classless class system helps set it apart. The combat is fast, agile and nimble, and the distinct Gothic-style fantasy setting is an immensely appealing one. It might not be the most high-profile Diablo-style game out there, but don't let that fool you into thinking it doesn't deserve your attention. Risk of Rain 2. What is Risk of Rain 2? On the surface, it's a simple third-person shooter roguelite hybrid. The stages are handcrafted, but spawn locations, items, and the teleporter's location are randomized. That teleporter is your ticket to the next stage. Activating it summons a boss which can be defeated. A red dome around the teleporter indicates the area you must stay in to charge it and progress to the next area. So theoretically, it is possible to not defeat the boss and escape, but you're inclined to kill the big bad since it can also drop special items. Progress to the next area, then the next, and eventually you'll loop back around to the beginning. It's a ton of fun to play, so it deserves a place on this list. Phantasy Star Online 2. Phantasy Star Online 2 has sadly never seen a launch in the West, which is absolutely criminal because it is arguably one of the very, very best looters you will ever play. With excellent build diversity, a deep and engaging class system, extensive customization, compelling exploration, and so much more to keep you hooked, this is the sort of game that one can easily sink hundreds and hundreds of hours into. For years, we've hoped that Sega will decide to bring the game over to the West eventually. Until it happens, or if it happens, we're just going to have to keep hoping. Titan Quest. Often touted as the quintessential Diablo clone, there's little that Titan Quest does that you haven't seen several times before in the genre, but the way the game executes its admittedly unoriginal ideas deserves a great amount of praise. It's an unsurprising experience that doesn't break any new ground, but if you're looking for a solid co-op loot-based experience, Titan Quest won't disappoint you. Warhammer Vermintide 2. Vermintide 2 isn't nearly as much of a looter as all the other games we've mentioned in this feature, with its focus very much being on the mechanics and the actual moment-to-moment combat than the loot itself. But the loot and variety of options it does offer makes for pretty great build diversity. And of course, the combat itself is absolutely stellar as well. And that wraps it up. If you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing to our channel. We upload new videos daily, so make sure you don't miss them by subscribing. We appreciate your support, and we thank you for checking us out.